too trusting, Sonic.
No, I'm not. Trust me.
The writing in Sonic Frontiers is the best the franchise has seen since Sonic Unleashed, which, mind you, at the time of this was nearly 15 years ago. Sonic Frontiers introduces Ian Flynn to the world of Sonic games. Flynn is veteran to writing material for the IDW Sonic the Hedgehog comics, and with this being said, many put their faith in Flynn to deliver on what we've been missing with the franchise. I myself have never delved into the comics for Sonic, but knowing that everyone else was excited for who'd be taking over, I was willing to also put my faith towards Flynn's work. It's actually the entire reason this video is being made to begin with.
Some direction is better than none. Here we go.
The writing in Sonic Frontiers is unbelievable, especially when compared to Sonic's last outings, mainly in its characters, which I'll get into. Firstly, the story itself is simple, but with new details and connections to old facets of Sonic lore. The Chaos Emeralds specifically now have a canonical origin point in the games after 30 years. Kind of.
I'm not sure what happened, but I know what I saw. A love that transcended time. I believe in that power.
The Ancients are a race of beings from a distant planet suspiciously resembling that of Chaos. We're not given much information about their planet, not even its name, but what we are told is that their planet was invaded by an evil force known as the End. The End we're not even given much information about, other than that it's evil, I guess, yes. And it was so powerful that it caused the Ancients to flee their planet entirely, bringing with them 7 powerful jewels, the Chaos Emeralds. The Emeralds powered the spaceships that the Ancients fled with, and along their travel, they began reacting to the Master Emerald on Earth, thus prompting them to head towards Earth and colonize on the Starfall Islands. Here they begin to rebuild their structures and civilization. The Ancients would then construct giant robotic titans powered by the Chaos Emeralds, and also smaller beings known as Guardians that would act on defending them if necessary. Eventually, a few Ancients would board their titans to fight back after realizing the End had followed them on their path to Earth. One attempts to bind their own titan with the End, resulting in the loss of their life, but sealing the End within cyberspace. The remaining Ancients would then create a shrine back on Earth surrounding the Master Emerald, and leaving the Chaos Emeralds within that shrine to protect them. It's thought that once the Ancients had passed, their spirits would leave behind the seed-like shell that was kept inside their bodies, known as Coco. I love the concept of the Ancients, and hope they get fleshed out more and expanded upon in future titles. What we're given here is just enough to create speculation and theories relating back to the events of past games in the series. You could do so much with the knowledge that they once settled themselves on Angel Island, to the point where some of their ruins can still be found in Sky Sanctuary. The fact that they do so heavily resemble Chaos makes things all the more interesting. Bro, there's so many outside sounds. Can y'all, go, please. Drive by, please.
You cannot run forever. Final warning. Leave.
That was a warning?
Now this all happened in the past, but in the present day, Dr. Eggman attempts to hack into one of the Ancients' towers, awakening the Guardians and cyberspace as a whole. Feeling as though the Doctor was a threat, they turn on him, and he ends up trapped in cyberspace. Immediately after, it appears that the Chaos Emeralds were drawn to the Starfall Islands, as Sonic, Tails, and Amy, for some reason, I guess, I mean, she can tag along if she wants, make their way over to figure out the reasoning for why. A portal opens up, also trapping the gang in cyberspace, but with Sonic blazing through and managing to escape. A voice then tells him to retrieve the emeralds and tear down the wall between dimensions in order to save his friends, thus beginning Sonic's adventure to rescue the crew. Quickly into the game, we're introduced to Sage, a mysterious girl who seems to side with the Ancients, knowing of their past destruction and seeing Sonic himself as a threat to the islands.
If we are fortunate, it will destroy you.
Listening to the voice, Sonic travels to the different islands collecting the scattered emeralds, becoming supersonic and destroying each Titan, unknowingly breaking the seal that once held the End within cyberspace, releasing it into reality. As Sonic saves his friends and traverses to and from cyberspace, we're shown flashbacks of the Ancients and their struggle to survive against their biggest foe. The End is able to bind itself with the final Titan that sealed it long ago. As Sonic defeats the last Titan, the End retreats into space, prompting Sonic to follow. After realizing his true nature, Sage puts her trust in Sonic, pilots the Titan, and fights alongside him, which ultimately results in the loss of her life in the battle.
Please, look after Father.
With the End defeated and the Ancients at peace, Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, Amy, and Dr. Eggman are then freed from cyberspace, and our story comes to a close. Did you notice I barely said anything about Dr. Eggman? We'll get into that.
Miss Coco says they need to find their one true love before it's too late. They've been too shy to express their feelings, but if they don't do it now, they may never get the chance.
You got all that, huh?
The Coco are a big factor of Sonic Frontiers, as they're shells that act as vessels and carry the spirits of the Ancients. They work to gather materials and build weapons to defend themselves with the help of Sonic and his friends. I love seeing them move around and interact. They're a genuinely peaceful race of beings, even despite the sheer magnitude of their arsenal. The story of Sonic Frontiers, again, is kinda simple at its base. My main appreciation for it is its own narrative. I was going to say gone is the over-reliance on nostalgia, but nostalgia is definitely still there. But it doesn't feel nearly as forced or lazy as before. Cyberspace takes memories from the past of our characters and jumbles them all together. This results in Green Hill, Chemical Plant, and Sky Sanctuary Zone taking on the familiar layouts of stages from past Sonic titles. Throughout Frontiers, the crew will even make numerous references to old adventures, making name drops to areas such as Sandopolis, Green Forest, Shamar, even enemies like Dark Gaia.
But together you stopped the Ark, overcame Neo-Metal. You...
I don't want to hear it. Those alliances were purely out of desperation.
It flows naturally into their conversations and is realistic. I mean, why wouldn't you compare these new and unfamiliar locales to the grand adventures you've been on before? I will say it did get a little weird hearing Roger Craig Smith saying things like Station Square, Babylon Garden, and Spagonia, but that could just be me. The story is strong on its own and doesn't feel slapped together. When you see the massive amount of cutscenes this game has to offer, coupled with the expressive animation and quality, it's clear that a lot of heart was put into it. There are times where it almost feels as though the game wants to be the new Unleashed of this generation. It's not without its flaws, but it's very competent. With all of this out of the way, it's time for the characters themselves.
Not bad. Things would have been over faster if I'd been Super Knuckles. You did all right.
Yeah, you keep telling yourself that.
I need to say this right now. Roger Craig Smith gives his best performance yet in this title. It's very clear that all of the voice actors were given some sort of new direction to match the somber, lonely tone of the Starfall Islands. Sonic's voice is noticeably deeper, especially early on as he searches for his friends on this new location he's found himself on.
Looks like I'm the only one who made it out of that. Whatever it was. Key, huh? Sure beats being called a rodent. Are you saying I can rescue my friends?
I was not the fondest of this at first. It didn't feel right. But as the game progressed and more story played out, it settled in more and more. It also helps that Sonic's jokes, attitude, and care are perfectly aligned here.
How you feeling, Amy? I mean, what's it like being all ghosty?
He's always been dead set on keeping his friends safe from harm, but here he's genuinely concerned over their well-being, not just with them trapped in cyberspace, but how they're doing mentally and emotionally as well. There are many times where Sonic will ask how one of them is doing and carry a legitimate conversation with them about what they're going through.
It's like how I couldn't handle it after Infinite attacked. One wrong turn and I fall apart.
Whoa, what? You've got me worried, Tails. You wanna talk?
Not right now. Let's just focus on finding the emeralds.
The music will even either die down or just outright stop completely to allow the lines to further sink in. The conversation Sonic has with Tails over him wanting to split for a while to better himself made me want to cry, because it's been so long since we'd had a moment this sincere between them two. It's that special. I also feel Sonic is the funniest here that he's been in a long, long time.
What is your end goal?
It varies. Sometimes it's a spinning sign, sometimes it's a big old ring.
No.
Not bust a gut funny by any means, but things he would quip with here and there had me crack up from time to time. Never annoying, and it's legitimately charming and exactly how the character should be.
Sage, you will help me find the Chaos Emeralds. Sonic won't be fast enough.
Hey, wow!
It's funny, the writing in Sonic Frontiers at times almost feels as though it's attempting to undo the damage the franchise had done to its characters over the past 10 or so years. For so long, at least in the modern titles, the focus was that Sonic would be the only playable character, while his friends would either help out with things here and there, or just barely do anything at all. For instance, Tails.
The spatial anomaly that affected us seems to have left me in a digitized state. But those same energies are manifesting into some worrisome mutations for you.
Those sure are words you said just now.
Throughout Sonic Unleashed, Sonic Colors, Sonic Generations, Sonic Lost World, and Sonic Forces, Tails would essentially be Sonic's tag-along, by his side most of the adventure doing things in the background, and that's it. In Sonic Forces, a big point of contention with his character would be his cowardly nature, showing fear of a monster that he'd taken out one of the biggest forms of in one of the franchise's biggest titles. It was almost as if Sonic Team forgot that Tails used to fight things, that he rode in a mech made out of his plane specifically to take out military robots. He was the third piece of Team Sonic and frontline throughout the entirety of Sonic Heroes. They relegated him to just being the smart one that says big words and handles machinery. This gets brought up in Sonic Frontiers.
Sonic, am I a burden to you?
Bringing up just how cowardly he's been and how often Sonic would have to come and shield him from danger over the past games, Sonic immediately brings up the past adventures they'd been on, where Tails was able to fend for himself.
Hey, who was it who stopped Eggman from blowing up Station Square, huh? And who broke me out of prison, or saved me from the Deadly Six's trap?
They tried to show a big brother, little brother relationship between the two in titles like Lost World and very lightly in Colors, but I genuinely believe it hasn't been any stronger than how it's presented here. Later in the game, Tails expresses how proud he hopes he's making his friend, and it feels as though he's experiencing some sort of closure. It's that impactful.
Hey, little bro, feeling better?
Yeah. This whole experience gave me a kind of clarity. When this is all over, I think I need to go it alone for a while. I can't grow into my full potential if I always fall back on you. If that's okay.
You're free to go your own way. I guess you just blew up on me a little faster than I expected.
Are you saying I outpaced you?
Yeah, don't push it. It's gonna take some getting used to, but here's to you reaching new heights, partner.
Amy is standard Amy, though she isn't pining for Sonic this time around and gets to be more of herself. She cares for the Coco and wants to know more about them, even tending to a specific Coco yearning for a loved one. Seeing Amy's caring nature back again and with a setting and tone like this is refreshing. Her voice is also perfectly fitting.
They were reunited, right before the end.
They're together now. You take a minute. I'm gonna keep moving.
Much like Sonic, the voice took a bit to settle in for me, but over time I realized just how much it worked. We've never heard Amy like this before, and it breathed new life into the character.
When this is over, I want to share that love with the world, even though it may take us far apart.
I know you'll do great. I want to hear all about it when you come back.
We're not shown any of this in-game, but in the Sonic Frontiers prologue released on the Sonic the Hedgehog official YouTube channel, Knuckles is seen roaming throughout Sky Sanctuary where he finds a portal gear, as well as some old ruins from the ancients. Placing the portal gear into the tower, he finds himself trapped within cyberspace, eventually coming across the Guardians. After taking them out, a Titan appears, as well as Sage, trapping him just like the rest of Sonic's friends. You cannot tell me that Flynn was not watching Sonic Movie 2 when writing for Knuckles in this game. The playful rivalry between Sonic and Knuckles is beautiful to watch play out because it's in full force here.
Listen. Help me find the Chaos Emerald so I can beat up some big robots. You'll be free and back to guarding the Master Emerald in no time.
Sounds like a plan.
Seeing them both harkening back to past events while also declaring who is better is so nice. They even have a scene where Sonic attempts to make him smile before realizing he's not feeling himself and trying to work up a conversation.
I'll admit, I do envy your lifestyle. Freedom to go where you want, when you want.
So do it. Get out there and live a little.
Maybe I could. But first I need to be back to normal. So hurry up and get me back to normal.
Anything to get you away from me.
We needed something like this, especially after the second Sonic film. I went away from that movie wishing Knuckles behaved like he did there, but in the games, knowing that the film version was the new best version of the character. And while he doesn't do too terribly much in Frontiers given his situation, I put the game down with a much stronger love for a character that had been lost long ago. It's also just really nice seeing Knuckles in awe of the sheer magnitude of the ancient arsenal and the lengths that they'd go to protect their civilization. It's the most, like, this is not the time for this, like, at all, dude, but it's perfectly on par for Knuckles.
Hopefully I'll find Tails too. I'm worried about him.
He'll be alright. Now hurry up and save the day already.
Dr. Eggman and Sage. Okay, now, here's where I went wrong. Originally in this script, I talked about the relationship between the two and how shallow and manipulative it seemed. Throughout the cutscenes, the only thing we'd be shown is Dr. Eggman telling Sage what to do, ordering her around, and that's it.
Keep tabs on the Hedgehog. I want constant updates.
Yes, sir.
And keep looking for a way to get me out of here!
I am evaluating all safe options.
Meanwhile, at the end of the game, there'd be a heartbreaking scene of her losing her life, with Eggman speechless. I didn't understand what would make that connection so deep between them, when what we've been shown is there's not much there. However, I didn't read the Egg Memos. The Egg Memos are recorded documentation by Eggman during his time in cyberspace that can be obtained in the game through means outside of the main story. In these memos, the Doctor goes over a lot of different things, including his findings that the Ancients are indeed relatives of Chaos with corroded DNA, finding that the Sonic heroes are all on the islands, and Sage herself. Sage is an AI created by Dr. Eggman and hacked into the Ancients' technology. Given the amount of data she'd been installed with on Sonic and their past adventures, her aversion to the blue blur only makes the most sense, alongside her unconditional love for the Doctor.
Father was right about you. You're reckless and destructive.
I have no idea what your deal is, but if we could just talk...
No discourse, no bartering, only elimination.
Eggman even makes a passing line on replacing Orbot and Cubot with her, prompting a strong reaction, with her assuming that she'd be family with all three of them. Sage is a sweet character, wanting to feel loved by someone, and through the Egg Memos, it's clear that the Doctor feels the same way. Through his love for her, he gives up on his original plans and reluctantly agrees to work with Sonic on saving the Starfall Islands.
Sonic, I hereby induct you into the Eggman Empire and order you to save us all. Understand? This is not an alliance.
If that's how you want to spin it, Dr. Ego Man.
They have a father-daughter relationship that's real. I just wish, at least through the cutscenes, that this didn't come off as shallow as it seems. Again, without these recordings, the connection is established, but isn't properly shown until the end of the game. I hope after Frontiers, Sage returns and we can see the two interact again, bonding maybe, like a real father and daughter would.
I understand. Go. Fulfill your function. Be careful, dear daughter.
The end is a villain. Nah, but for real, I don't mind us not knowing too much about this entity, if only because the fact that we don't know anything about it makes it all the more terrifying. I've always been of the belief that not knowing is the biggest fear you could ever have. It breeds paranoia and unease. The fact that the end wiped out civilizations before and caused an entire race to flee their planet as a whole is beyond scary. And it can appear as a voice, a being, or just this huge scary moon. Like, what? It serves exactly its purpose and I did not mind it. It's like tokusatsu. While I love the story, there are some hiccups that sit strangely for me. This mainly deals with Sage. Sage views Sonic as a threat, allowing the Titans to fend against him. Fine, that makes total sense, especially after what Dr. Eggman would relay to her. However, whenever Sonic just wants to understand what's even happening, she either gives cryptic information or just refuses to respond.
I'm willing to help, but first I need to know what's going on.
No, you don't know what you're talking about.
This is brought up multiple times by Sonic near the end of the game, once he earns her trust.
Sure would have been smoother sailing if we'd been working together from the start, but well, I guess I had to earn your trust first, huh? We've run into each other so many times, but I only recently learned your name. You could have told me sooner, you know.
And it's like, yeah, like why did this take so long? It's understandable why her hesitation was the way that it was, but after a while, it just goes on for too long. The lack of any morsel of information from her feels like just prolonging things that weren't necessary. Other than this, I really have no much more to say on the plot, and like, I don't really have a way to end this. Again, it's a breath of fresh air to have something as heart-filled as this to gush about within a Sonic game. Being a fan of nearly 20 years, it's been so long since I'd been beyond excited for a new title in the franchise, and Frontiers absolutely delivered, hoping the future outings carry, if not the same energy, a similar level of care and thought. Sonic Frontiers became my new Unleashed, something that probably only has meaning to me, but meaning all the same. I put meaning because all the same, and then at the end it just says Metamucil. I put this script in the same notes as something that's not even remotely related to this. I'm sorry. Emilia, Velveteen, Alicia, Andrew, Cameron, Caroline, Daniel, David, Gwen, Ian, Junior the Hedgehog, Common J, Caitlin, Megley, Mia T. Toon, Nerdy Disney, Prima Donna, Sawyer, and the rest of my patrons. I appreciate you for joining the Rainbow Line. I'll see you guys at the next stop.